We've got Joe in Canada wanting to talk about how using labels like okay, listen, I think you mean atheist, but whoever typed this in wrote labels like ashiest is sometimes the end of meaningful discussion. So now I'm thinking about somebody who just doesn't like know about lotion.
You don't look particularly healthy, man. You're looking rather ashen today.
So, but I think you mean atheist. Am I right, or did you want to talk about ashy people?
Well, I don't. What the label is wasn't really as relevant to the conversation. I think it's relevant here, obviously, because of the show. But I wanted to talk to you guys about it because it's such a massive part of what you do, and I imagine a massive part of your life, living in a community that are mostly religious and being an atheist. But I just noticed that if I'm talking with somebody new that I don't know that well, as soon as they start to figure out certain attributes of how I'm thinking about things, they'll, as quickly as possible, try to slap a label on that, whether it's liberal or atheist, and then the conversation seems to shut down in their mind. Now they know how I think about every part of every conversation. And I was sort of asking for advice on if you run into that and what some techniques might be to sort of pry that open and I guess, take away the damage that those labels do to a conversation. I don't know if you have any advice.
I mean, I don't think it's the label's fault if people are jumping to conclusions about you. I mean, if you say you're an atheist, I mean, that shouldn't tell them anything about you other than that you're not convinced there's a God. Any other shit that they pile on you as a result of that, oh, well, then therefore you can't have morality or whatever. That's their problem, not the label's problem. It's a failure of critical thinking more than anything else.
Yeah, it's irrelevant, but I want to say this. You sound an awful lot like Tim Minchin. Not exactly, but something about the particular mannerisms and the way you were phrasing something. I have Tim's voice in my head now along with yours.
Well,
the labels.
I have a really weird accent because I'm an Aussie expat that lives in Canada for like 11 years now, so it's a weird hybrid thing going.
That makes a lot of sense. So, yes, I agree that labels can get in the way, but I agree with Kenneth. I think what you're talking about, what we're always talking about when we get to this, is that people are lazy. People want to put people in a bucket. And so if I can say, oh, you're a liberal, oh, you're an atheist, oh, you're a secularist, oh, you're a humanist, oh, you're, whatever, then that's a way for them to stop thinking. You are correct. But
yeah,
I don't know how you avoid that problem. I don't know how you fix that, because if you stop using the label, then all you're going to have to do is have a conversation about that's going to lead them to the label. It's like people were like, oh, I think the atheist label has too much baggage, so let's start calling ourselves brights. Well, bright has a bunch of baggage. And when you have a talk with somebody and you're like, oh, I'm a bright, and they say, what's that mean? And you're like, oh, it's, essentially it's somebody who doesn't believe in God. And then they say, oh, you mean like an atheist? Well, now you've wasted a bunch of time to get to a label they know. Yeah. I'd much rather say, you can't stop somebody from assuming they know everything about you. I like to try to confound expectations by saying something that perhaps they weren't expecting. But I mean,
it can function as a great litmus test. If you tell somebody, that you're an atheist, and then they jump to, oh, so you fill in the blank. It tells you quite a bit about them, more than they think they know about you. I would argue at that point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm in agreement with Matt on this one.
I fully agree with all that. I don't think it's a valid way of going of that they're behaving. It's more so, how do we resurrect the conversation after that happens? I just wondered if you had
just ask a question,
techniques that you might use, so
well, ask a question. And one of the things is that, like, if you say, oh, I'm an atheist, and you see that there seems to be some sort of like mental, like, I love watching people think. And so when somebody does let's see, atheist, oh, this means that, this means this, you could always say, by the way, just for clarity, what does that mean to you when I say that? And then you can have a discussion about what the label means and what it doesn't mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say sometimes when I tell people I'm an atheist, they think this, when that's not really the case. And I just want to make sure you're not confused.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. I think there's a certain level of hostility that you can't get past, but I was just sort of looking I think that's a good idea. And I only really just got exposed to Anthony Magnabosco, so I think I should try and delve into the street epistemology thing and see. I'm sure there's plenty of techniques there that would help.
Definitely. There's a lot to learn there.
A ton. Anthony got so much good content. It's really incredible. And he's a genuinely nice guy in my experience. So
Yeah. It all just stems from a personal experience recently where a person actually had to remove themselves from this social gathering because they were going to physically harm me because I had made a comment that labeled me as a liberal, and then they knew everything about me after that, and it caused that much anger. So, yeah, I was anyway. That's sort of what prompted it, and I know labels are so useful, so it's hard to do without them. But I wondered if there's a way we could talk that didn't lead to labeling immediately. But I guess they're just too useful to give up, I suppose. But
my immediate thought is if you said you're in some social gathering and someone finds out you're a liberal and they want to physically assault you, this has been a very useful term because you've identified the asshole in the room. So it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but yeah, hopefully this has been helpful.
It has, and I'm love to the crew and the call screeners because I didn't realize how hard they're working. It's my first time calling, and they have to spend so much time checking in on the callers. And it's a huge thing. And these shows are awesome, and we need them. And so I'm grateful to those people.
They've activated the lovering cannon at you right now for acknowledging that they exist. Let's further acknowledge them. Can we get the crew cam up and thank these wonderful people who make the show happen? There we go. We got the crew cat. What a wonderful group of people. I mean, and listen, we're the hosts are always saying this because it's freaking true. There is no show, there is no ACA without those people. I mean, it's the hosts. We do nothing. So anyway,